Okay, welcome all in one and one and all to another exciting episode of Dragon's Death and Destiny over on the Low Initiative channel. Um, we're getting right into it since we had a slightly late start. When last we saw the heroes of the Onyx Circle, you guys were just taking your last day, or last couple days of your time off before getting back to work. Um, for most of the group, they were just spending time at Dick's, doing a little bit of shopping. Um, Riena, you had a slight punishment from the brass court just for not being able to um, keep things in check on your last job, and for the Onyx Circle's slight failure of the last job that the brass court had assigned them. You were finishing up your punishment, and on the last day, you were slapped with the chain, and you supposed you were able to leave your punishment for the day. Um, you ended up going over to Dick's, meeting up with the rest of the Onyx Circle, and you guys had heard that there was a cadre of people that were going to visit a oasis. Um, and something like that usually brings on a crowd and other things. Sometimes they have different types of entertainment, so you guys decided to head over to the gate that evening to see who was coming. There can be a big hoopla around these parts, so why might as well. Upon getting over there, the first group that came through the gate was an army of white and bluish colored clad soldiers, followed by a elder white dragon, which atop it sat a platform that housed a few female elves. The first thing that was apparently noticed was that these females that rode atop the dragon, they all seemed to look exactly like, closely like, or of close relation to Naturia. Um, all of them had pale alabaster skin with hair colors ranging from almost white, kind of pale bluish, to blues, and different ranges in between. A lot of their dresses and clothing kind of they were similar to Nat's in that they were kind of like wispy and flowing, but instead of her red and oranges, they all had blues and whites, almost giving it like an icy, snowy effect. Um, with many questions and a little bit of confusion, Reyna decided to go around and ask the crowd to see if any of them knew who these people were. You had heard that this event was known as the White Procession, and that these people had come long, long, long time ago, and that for the most part was pretty positive outcome during their last visit. Um, after this elven group, which was later found out to be called the Andali, came through the gate, there was another army that was its head flank was being led by a pretty sizable squad of Minotaur Warforged that looked and kind of moved exactly like Cletus. And at the center of this standing army, there was a human male and a female Minotaur kind of leading the pack. Long story short, you guys had a lot of questions, many curiosities on both of these groups that came through town. Um, you guys slept that evening, and the next day, you guys were all ordered to meet with the brass court because there was something new for you guys. Upon meeting with the Brass Sultan and his people, you guys had found that it had been confirmed that you guys, for one, were dealing with dragons, and the scale and scope of everything that is happening is causing enough of a panic within the Brass Court that the Brass Sultan has ordered uh, the Onyx Circle in Riena to take the next month-ish time to basically get some extra training and some instruction in to better yourselves for the upcoming threat. Reyna,
Mhm.
you finished your evening. You know, you were assigned Kraz. Um, the Onyx Circle has gone back to Dick's, and I believe you slept in your room.
Correct.
So there you are. You snuggle up in your big old fluffy beanbag. You know, it's fucking comfy as all hell. And you just pass out. You've been putting in a pretty good amount of honest work the last few days, so, you know, your bones and body are a little sore from that. And, you know, feeding all of the animals and cleaning things up, it's a bit of work. So you fell asleep pretty easily, and you just kind of slowly begin to wake your eye or open your eyes.
Oh, 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 yeah. I needed that. Hmm. Well, I guess today is training day. I guess I'll go up and start my morning routine.
Okay, well, you wake up, go to the mirror, you start doing different faces, you get dressed, you get ready. Even take,
I
even
know, David.
you know, get some nice breakfast in you. I will say that during the time of you doing all of this, you do walk by Grom at one point, um, and that is all of the brass court that you see during this exchange of getting up.
Morning, Grom.
Morning. He kind of seems in a hurry, and he just kind of passes by you and heads out towards the exit from the brass court chambers.
Fair enough. I wonder if Cross is up yet. And I'm just thinking this as I'm eating dinner, I suppose,
You mean
or
breakfast?
breakfast.
Yeah. And as you say that, I am awake. When you are ready, I will call for you.
Okay, fair enough. Did he say when he's ready or when I'm ready?
When you're ready.
Okay. Um, I'm just gonna think this instead of saying it loud, but Cross is should I wear special? Uh, is there anything I should do before meeting you for training?
Prepare yourself.
Okay, but like, should I wear a certain outfit or?
There is deafening silence in your head.
Fair enough. I know, damn it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, hey, Damien. Lara's not home to keep him busy, so he's just going to be a bit noisy. Usually, Lara's home to keep him distracted during recording. Um. All right then. It's going to be a long haul on this one, I suppose. Well, after dinner, I think, and a bath, I believe I'd be ready. And that's basically what I'm going to do. I'm just going to.
Okay. You have your breakfast, you take a bath, and you get dressed, and you feel pretty refreshed. And as you're finishing putting on your clothes for the day, making sure you're looking all fine and dandy, um, you feel a psychic tug. Almost as if someone's like pulling a thread connected to you. It's not commanding, it's not forceful. It's just kind of like a gentle pull.
I'll take that as my cue. And is it tugging me in a direction or is it
Yes.
just okay? Well, follow the direction.
Okay. And it's weird, because it literally brings you from point to point to point. Like you get to a door, and like the hallway might go left or right, and as soon as you pass through the door, it starts, you know, pulling you right. You start going through you know, the higher upper echelon of the brass courtrooms, and eventually you find a large stone door of Kraz's room.
Yeah. Well, should I like knock or are you going to open the door?
You hear kind of stone grinding as the door begins to slowly rise.
I suppose not much for formalities then. So, hello, Cross. As I walk in.
Okay, you see the blank, stark, um, stone walls of Kraz's room. Um, on the left side of the room, this room is much smaller than even yours. On the left side, you see a stone bed with some basic kind of like bedding on top of it. There is a desk, and that's pretty much all there is to this room.
Not much of a interior decorator, Cross, huh?
Um, Another thing you notice is that this room is completely empty.
Aside from the bed and desk.
Yeah, meaning like there's no one else here.
Um, Cross, and just kind of looking behind me around. Uh, I guess I'm here alone, or are you off somewhere else?
Silence.
Just kind of wandering in. Just the tug is not really tugging anymore now that I'm here, is it?
Nope. As soon as you got inside the room, it kind of relinquished itself.
Hmm. So, first day of training and all that. What are we looking forward to? A bit of a escape artist, shape shifting, mental fortitude, or something worse.
Silence.
You know, you and Remy are the reason I talk to myself. You mind if I take a seat on your bed? Not much in the way of chairs in here.
Silence.
I'm just going to. I'm going to take it close, just wandering around the room, just looking.
Okay. Are you are you just, looking into stuff? Like, what are you specifically trying to
I'm
do?
being a bit nosy, so I guess investigation. I'm not like looking at the desk in detail, but I'm kind of like maybe opening a drawer, just kind of peeking an eye at stuff. So investigation on that one.
Well, investigation is not a part of for you.
Oh, sorry.
Um,
What do you want me to
yeah,
roll?
just give me a perception check.
Okay. Yeet.
Okay. His room is surprisingly barren. There's almost nothing to it. Um, but as you're going along the rear wall, you do notice that there is the tiniest, tiniest bit of crack. on the back wall. There is a seam that seems to be in the shape of a door.
Huh. I'm gonna just trail my fingers alongside it.
Yeah. Uh, most of his room, there's kind of like an etching all along the walls, ceilings, things like that. So you never noticed this before. Um, and yeah, you kind of trace your finger out around the edge, and you feel that little tiniest bit of gap, and it goes all the way around into a door.
Um, is it so when we're talking time, am I able to like press my fingers to it and able to get anything from it, or is it just too thin?
I mean, it's a very small crack that outshapes the door.
Hmm. Oh, that's peculiar. Why would you have something like this? Um, I'm going to just looking like around the desk, see if there's a switch or something.
Nope.
Just being curious. Oh, let's. Well then, Cross. What do you need a door for? Well, if I was Cross, I would probably be like, as I'm saying this, I'm literally going to shift um, my face into the best semantics of a Cross I can get and be like, well, you see, Reina, I probably would have a door here to hide something from you. Maybe a drug or something more useful. Or just something you don't need your dirty mind on. Yeah, that's probably what Cross would want. Hmm. But how do I get in? Hmm. What do I have all my equipment with me?
Yep.
I'm going to pull out a um in the thieves' tools, there's usually something like a rake or a pick. Just gonna see if I could just slip something through the crack and see if I could feel any indentation inside of the crack.
Okay. You start shoving it through. Um, it's barely able to fit through the lining of this door because it is a very thin seam. But you kind of jag it in there. The door opens a little bit, and you watch as your pick begins to melt. It doesn't get hot, it just melts.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, okay.
It looks like almost like quicksilver just dripping along the crack. And then it goes to the floor and just puddles, forms into a puddle.
That is some serious security.
The door's cracked now. It kind of rotated.
Really. Is it cracked enough to get a finger in there?
Uh, I mean, you kind of reach your hand up to try to see, and the door just kind of rotates a little bit more. It looks
Nothing
like it's
ventured.
free, just kind of free spinning. Just
Nothing
requires a little bit of
ventured.
force.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'm just gonna push it.
Okay. You push through the door, and you just see a dark tunnel.
Okay, well, unnerving, but let's see where this leads. Now, as I'm saying, I'm walking as I say this. Now, of course, if I was Cross, I would immediately close the door right behind me, wouldn't I?
As the door closes.
I don't know if you're predictable or you're just letting me know these things. But, and I'm going to assume, is the light gone now that it's
Yeah,
closed?
you are now fumbling around in pitch black darkness.
Okay, then, Cross. Let's see how this goes. Um, I'm going to do what I can to essentially, all right. So there's a tunnel, right? So there is clearly a wall to the sides of me.
Yep, you feel around and you feel the wall and you feel the door. You kind of push on the door a little bit. It does not budge.
Well, as I said, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'm going to carefully walk along, like keep walking forward with my hand along the wall.
Okay, remember you do have light if you do want it.
Oh yeah, this is true, don't I? Um, Let me see my inventory, see what type of light sources I have.
You do have some sun rods.
Yes, I think I'll crack a sunrod.
Okay, you do so. You activate it. Its magical glow begins to light up. Gives off the same light as a torch, but does not produce a real flame. You see a hallway completely etched with runes from floor to ceiling to all the walls, everything. It is solidly inscribed with different runes. And in the runes, most of the wall here is carved stone, but looking at the runes, you can tell that beneath the stone there seems to be a darkened metal underneath it.
Okay. So runes, metal, stone. Do I recognize the runes?
They seem to be arcane in various degrees of runes. Not so much in language as so much arcane in other properties.
Mhm.
Some of them seem very foreign to you, even from the magical point of view.
And you said there was a metal behind the stone runes, or
Yeah,
metal with.
you know how have you ever seen people who do like the wood etchings over metal to where like once they etch in the wood, you can see the metal underneath?
Yes.
It's kind of like that, but the walls are stone and the metal is basically behind the stone, so where the etchings are, like you can see only in the etchings can you see the metal underneath.
Interesting. I'm going to. Hmm. I'm going to trail a finger around one of the etchings and see if I add pressure to the metal behind them.
You touch it. The metal is slightly cool to the touch.
Hmm. I'm going to go off on a hunch, but I doubt you would do this, but just in case, Rand's going to take off a glove and put the tip of a pinky to the metal.
Okay, you do so.
Any burning sensation?
It's cold to the touch.
All right, well, that eliminates one possibility. Puts the glove back on. Hmm. How far can I see down the tunnel with my current light source?
About uh about 30-ish feet until it starts getting dimmer and dimmer and then darkness.
All right, well, let's see where this leads. And I'm just going to, with a careful pace, just head down.
Okay, you do so. The tunnel continues along for a good 80, 90 feet before the very depth of your light shows that the hallway seems to open up into a chamber.
Hmm. Well then, I suppose, what does the chamber have when I enter?
You step in, and all of the runes and stuff that were in the hallway continue. Um, the runes continue along, and you kind of poke your head and kind of look left and right, and the runes inscribe the entirety of this chamber as well. Stepping through, you go a few feet, and you kind of looking around. Just seems to be a large chamber inscribed with these runes. Um, And as you're looking around, you notice that the center has like water or some type of liquid on the floor. There seems to be like an etched, almost circular thing of water.
Lean down and kind of examine the water. Is essentially pick up something with my fingertips, kind of smell it, see if it is exactly water, if it has any other kind of property to it.
There is kind of an acrid smell to it. Um, it's definitely water, but it seems to have been standing in something, almost maybe a metal. And you notice that at the bottom of this etched kind of circle, the same metal that was darting the rest of the runes is all underneath this water. Go ahead and give me a perception check combined
I
with an
can do that.
intelligence.
So is that two separate rolls, or is add
Two
my
separate
intelligence
rolls.
modifier? All right. Perception, intelligence.
Okay. You kind of smell the water, look at the metal. That's lead
What would you need lead for, Cross?
to block
Oh,
my thoughts. And you almost hear that in a direction, and your head snaps too. And at the center of the etched thing, you kind of look at the very depth of your torchlight, and you can see at the center of the giant circle at the center of this chamber, there's a stone podium, and sitting cross-legged is one Kraz Kraz. His eyes closed.
well, I have to hand it to you. This is way more elaborate than your bed chamber.
He waves his hand, and you watch as you see purple glow starting to emanate within this room. Slowly comes on, and you look up at the ceilings, and in each of the four corners of the room, there is a crystal embedded into the ceiling that is giving off a purple glow, lighting this chamber.
Well, beautiful if I could say anything.
It is not. This room means isolation.
Isolation. That's I can see how someone like you would enjoy that. Um, so why bring me here of all things?
This is my meditation hall. This is where I do most of my thinking. This room blocks all communications both ways. I can only do light tugging and barely get an audible sentence out while I'm in this room. This room doesn't even exist within Eolus. It is its own demi-plane.
That is impressive. Um,
I hope so. It took me over 200 years to craft this room.
oh, well, in that case, it is very impressive. Hmm. So, is that what my training is? Are we going to be meditating?
We will be doing much, but please have a seat. And he gestures in front of him, and you watch as a circular stone starts to rise through the water about 5 feet in front of Kraz.
Thank you. I'm going to take a seat and basically try to imitate however Cross might be sitting or floating or whatever he is.
He's sitting.
So if
Um,
he's sitting cross-legged, Rain is doing the same.
you do so. And as you go to step out onto the water, you watch as the water kind of pushes away from you. Like as you go to take a step, it kind of clears a spot, and you're just kind of stepping on the lead underneath.
Yeah.
But you do make it over to the podium, sit down, cross your legs, and you're not standing. You're sitting about 5 feet away from Kroz's little podium.
Well, I'm glad you trust me enough to let me into your sanctum of isolation.
And his eyes open, and they stare at you. The kind of black, jaded eyes just kind of look towards you. So I've been probing your brain over the last few days to make sure I got the full story. I would like to just have you listen for now. You met a strange group of individuals, travelers to Elvis. You knew nothing of their tale, you knew nothing of their past. The Brass Sultan ordered you to investigate them, to learn more about them. He had given you the groundwork for the group. Hold on a second. Sorry, sketch was being a butt.
And I imagine that in characters like, you lay down the ground. Hold on a second.
To lay down the groundwork of learning about this group. The fools were captured as part of the plan to defuse a rough situation at the Iris. They were brought to the palace, introduced, ordered to work for the Brass Sultan, and you were assigned to them. And you hear yourself, or you hear Kraz using your voice, you're not quite sure. But you hear the line of saying, "Oh, I'm like his right hand man," and then you hear again, "Yeah, like I'm basically like top dog," and then you hear yourself again and again, giving yourself compliments of your position and power, lording different remarks that you made about how if the party needs anything, how great the Sultan is, how rich and powerful, how many connections you have within the courts, just one after the other. There's the instance of you talking to the guard, and referring even to the guard as being the right hand man of the Brass Sultan. You hear a cacophony of all these messages. Why did you feel the need to say those things?
Um, well, who doesn't want to feel important?
Everyone wants a place in life, but you were told to gather information. Do you think you gained an upper hand by revealing that information?
Well, I feel like they were able to put trust in me, able to have someone to rely on. At the time, with what they were going through, seemed like the best option. I considered going in as a more demure a presence. I considered something more, well, noble even.
And you hear in your brain Conrad's voice a quick thought. Ugh. Oh man, this person, they're probably bullshitting. You hear Nat just go, hmm. You hear Rhea mentally rolling her eyes. You hear Sin being very doubtful. Him thinking, okay, well, this is probably just some peon with an inflated ego. And you realize that most of them were very untrusting thoughts.
Mm.
I ask again, what revealing of this information gave you an upper hand, helped the situation? 'Cause as far as I can tell, the only thing that helped was with was yourself.
Well, at the time, I thought it would give me a more advantageous advantage. It's always an act.
Riena, behind me, you are considered to be the best of the spy masters for a neuroasist. You were trained and taught that information is a powerful weapon in its own right. Why would you reveal such information if it offered you no upper hand? Be honest.
Honestly, I saw them as a group that needed a bit more
No,
input before.
no. This is not the answer. You barely knew nothing of the group. Your orders were very clear. You were instructed to gain more information. Why is providing information you gaining information if no new information came from you giving that information? Information is a weapon that is best used when no one knows you have it. It it can change the tide in a situation. It can give you the upper hand. It can punish your enemies. It is a very, very useful tool. Why lose that tool?
Honestly, I don't know what to say, Cross.
Then what do you think?
I'm pretty sure you can read that.
I can, but do you even know your own thoughts?
Sometimes I don't. I've been acting on impulse more than anything lately. It's
Close your
not
eyes.
silence isn't close his eyes.
You start seeing mental images of yourself around the onyx circle, bragging about different things, telling a lot of information, going over the events that you've seen up into up until your guys' first job at a Bean Cove. Interaction after interaction of you blabbing about brass court members, their habits, talking about other the brass court members, their capabilities, even yourself, the resources that you have at your hand. He says, "Open your eyes."
Does so.
What did that look like to you?
Like I jabber too much.
I see a child, and you see a phantom image of yourself standing a few feet in front of you. I see you long ago, and the form slowly begins to revert, age, shorter and shorter of a Riena, down to a child Riena. And you see yourself standing there in your old street urchin clothing, very gaunt, hungry, clawing at life, trying to survive, doing, and you remember back, your head gets a flood of all the things you used to do for those assholes who said that they were there to help you. You trying to do what you could to eat and survive, to gain their affection and, that need. That is what I see. A little child who, by some fault to our own, has missed some crucial bit of growing up.
Yeah, that that makes sense.
So why do you feel the need to need, Reina? What are you looking for?
I just wanted, well, back then, I wanted the love and the reliance, and even though I was being used, I still wanted to provide. I saw a group that I could do that of my own free willing.
You
So,
watch as the images flood your brain of the botched robbery of the brass palace. You watch as the Sultan comes up to you. You watch as you fight the brass Sultan for your life and you lose. And you watch as the brass Sultan extends a hand to you. And you see a quick flood of visions of you being brought into the brass court, being trained by Kane, spending time with Kraz, learning this, your roguish tricks. Um, him teaching you all about investigation, spy mastery, things like that. Your time being trained by various other brass court members. Some of them patting you on your head when you get lessons right. Even Kane smiles a few times when you successfully take down one of the royal guards in combat training. You watch as the brass sultan sits on his chair smiling at you. You watch a flood again of the time when the brass sultan first revealed his identity to you. You watch all of this, and then it floods away. But you had that. Why do you continue to reach out? Are we
it
not
wasn't.
enough?
It's not. It's not that you're enough. Don't get that wrong. There's a difference between family. And as I say that, I gesture across and to the palace and everything. And, well, childhood friends.
I understand
Even,
this, Reina. Surprisingly enough, even a mind flayer like myself understands connection. It took myself many, many years for me to realize these things, but I know. But, and you watch as in front of you the illusion shifts, and suddenly you see a scene where the brass court are dead laying on the ground. You're standing amongst their corpses. Over them, you see a smiling, maniacal look of the Onyx Circle. All of them with red glowing eyes. Very atypical, like, yes, these are clearly the bad guys look. And they are standing over the brass court members, each of them with their weapons and knives and things in hand, kind of laughing over the corpses that is the brass court. So you would risk your family that took you in for a group of people you did not know by basically dulling your weapons, providing them with information they may not be privy to. You took your position in the brass court for granted and betrayed this family with every one of your actions.
that that was not my intent. I, I, I can't explain. I
The vision fades away, And there you just see Kraz staring at you.
Riena bows their head. Cross,
He raises a hand, like in a stopping motion. Reyna, this is not all of your fault. Maybe it was our raising you as a child. We trained you to be an asset for the Sultan. Another weapon in his cache. But you were more than this. And you hear a mental chuckle in your head. I don't think any of us were truly ready to rear a someone so as young as you. We trained you in the art of war, assassination, information gathering. But we did not teach you many other things. Lessons that I don't think any of us were capable of at the time. And we did not sate, apparently enough, of your own ego. And that's what this all is, Reyna. All of this. Ego. Your need for attention. You giving up your own weapons to this new group that you knew nothing about. And you see flashes of images of your time with the Onyx Circle, of you disobeying rules, you going out of the way. You see yourself tiptoeing up to Jacques' room to peek in on the happy couple. You see yourself getting in the way of them at the Hero's Rest. You see yourself butting in with Nat and Conrad. You see yourself popping in a lot of situations where kind of, seclusion was kind of the motive. Why did you do all of these things?
I, I thought to get a laugh. Thought,
These people struggle just the same as you, the same as I. Some of them bear scars that you could only fathom. I know, I've dabbled in their consciousness. And some of them carry weights in their past and in their mind that you could not bear. But still you push. Why? For a quick laugh? These people you're supposed to be trusting your lives to. These assets of the Sultan you would ruin for a quick joke.
I have no intention of ruining.
You watch as the image of you going into Jacques' room, you watch as the vampire unlatches from the ceiling, goes for your throat, and rips your neck almost in half. You watch as Conrad transforms into his devilish form and in a fury instinctively lets loose arrows at you. You watch as Naturia gets upset, seething at the mouth, breathing heavily, and explodes in flame, igniting the surrounding room and your flesh. In some of these cases, you still yet did not know these people, but you knew their capabilities. Why would you push a button that could have resulted in your death, or the death of your family?
I thought it was under control.
Did you now? Previously, you said you relayed information to them to control the situation. How can a situation both need help being put into control and be in control at the same time?
He got me there.
And all the images kind of get wiped away. The only thing these all have in common is one thread. And then you see yourself standing there again. What are you, Reina?
I am the Sultan's. I am
No, you're
one of his.
not. If you were, you would not act in such a way. So what are you?
Um, I I don't know.
You hear the grinding of stone behind you, as a faint light is coming down from the tunnel that you entered this room in. That is enough for today. Go enjoy the rest of your evening, and come meet with me in the morning.
Nods and makes their way out.
You do so, and as soon as you enter into Karaz's actual bedchamber, the door closes behind you.
Just going back to their room.
Okay. You do so.
How much is the day left?
You look around, and maybe it was the fact that you were in a demiplane, or maybe you just lost track of time during the visions. You don't know, but it looks like it's probably around like 4 in the afternoon.
Well, kind of. Um. Raina is just going to be lost in thought and mindlessly go through her day, any kind of tasks that need to be done, but eventually
Great.
resting early in her room.
There isn't really much to do. Most tasks get done by either the royal guard or the basic royal guard people, the actual guards, and the housekeepers of the brass palace.
Essentially, going through regular motions of everyday life, just a bit more out of it than normal.
Okay. When you go to eat dinner, there is Grom there laughing his ass off.
Uh, hey, Grum,
Oh, hey, little one.
what's what's so funny?
Oh, Raimi. Yeah, she has that little a little horn boy outside, and it is hilarious.
Oh, really? How's that going?
Uh, horn boy get wet.
uh, that's usually how he goes, I think.
He just kind of chuckles to himself.
Well, have you heard any news about any of the others as well?
And he kind of thinks about it for a moment. Oh, I think one is downstairs with that the cute long-eared girl. And that's all I heard. That's all I know.
I hope Raimi doesn't. I hope she doesn't kill the tiefling.
I mean, you know. He just kind of shrugs his shoulders and continues to eat his garbage food.
Well, um,
He has a giant like pitcher full of like melted cheese, and he's just kind of drinking it.
you say melted cheese. That almost sounds nice. And then you said drinking.
Yeah.
Well, at least you don't have to worry too much.
No, I have the most to worry about.
Really?
Everyone's so busy. I'm the one who has to defend this place as he kind of pounds his chest.
Oh, well, that is very true. Um, at the very least, though, I'm sure if anyone gets a look at you, they'll the other way.
Yeah, 'cause Grum is strong.
Yes, you are, buddy. But, yeah. Yeah, you are, buddy.
Yes, I am. And he slaps you on your back, which
Ow! Oh.
almost knocks the wind out of you.
Yeah, and just whatever food I had, just like dropping a bit. Oh, uh, oh, good one. Good one.
As the chef, construct chef, grabs a quick napkin with one of his hands and wipes his face of the food that you just spit on him.
Sorry about that.
Just continues cooking.
Well, anyways, Grom, try not to wear yourself out too much. I'm going to retire.
Grum can't troll heal fast.
That is true. That is something I'm sure the rest wish they had as well.
Yeah, then you're all really puny. Except Kane. Kane's not puny.
That's fair. Hmm. Anyways, good night, Scrum. Have fun with your guard duties.
Will do. And as you're walking out, you hear him yelling at the contract. And then horny boy, step on the rope and I flung him into the pond. That was good. And you hear
Marina's
almost an audible robotic sigh.
yeah, Raina is just. If she wasn't thinking a bit too much right now, if she wasn't lost in thought, she'd be laughing along. But stuff's on her mind.
You return to your chamber.
Mhm.
Um, what do you do?
Essentially going to. She's actually going to sit there and just try to think. Just lost in thought, thinking back on everything her and Cross have discussed up to this point.
Okay.
And when it's time to go to bed, she's just going to retire early and then get ready for the next morning.
You do so. You wake up. Um, didn't have the best sleep because your brain was awash with many thoughts, but sleep came nonetheless. And the morning is yours.
All right, round two. Electric Boogaloo. Let's see how this goes. Um, Half-heartedly goes through the routine, bathing, everything,
You do so.
and eventually ends up in front of the door to in Cross's room, I suppose.
Okay. You are there. The door going back to the meditation hall is slightly ajar.
Coming in now, if that's fine with you.
Nothing.
I'm going to take that as a yes. Pushes it and lights a I'm just gonna try just going forward
Okay.
without a torch.
Okay. You do so. You cross a certain threshold and you find yourself in the chamber. And you realize now that it's weird. You can't tell how far or how long that hallway is for the life of you. Like you don't realize it until now. You're like, did I walk 20 paces or did I walk 50 paces?
That is quite a trek. Um, Morning, Cross.
Morning. Please have a seat. And you watch as the stone rises from the water again.
Yes. Same old, same old.
Okay. You
Sits
sit
down, right
trying to.
cross.
Okay. You try to mirror Kraz's position. And as soon as you sit down, you see his eyes open. Little squiddy octopus eyes, staring at you. Black. I see you continue to think on the matter.
I mean, I assume that's good enough homework.
Is it?
I have yet to come to a conclusion, so not yet.
Then let us continue.
Um, and Rhea's going to drop all form this time, just going to basic form Reyna.
Okay. So I asked you yesterday, what are you, Reina?
Well, I guess I'm many things.
You are. But what are you to you?
What I am, I think, even though I hold myself up as one of the Sultan's weapons, I think in the end I'm still just a scared child.
What you are, Reina, at least in my eyes, from what I've seen since your travel with the Onyx Circle, is someone who doesn't understand what they are or really knows what they are. You may refer to yourself as the Sultan's right hand man, but you act in a way that his right hand man, Cain, would never act.
Yeah,
You are ordered to gather information, but instead you tell more information than you even receive. So clearly, where you are in the brass court and your position of said power is a mute point to you. You are but a child with an ego and a lust for attention. You put
I'm.
you put your own life at risk, the safety of others. For what? A connection. Do you really think that your methods are the true way of obtaining said connection?
In the moment, I feel it's best, but upon any logical observation, it's clearly not.
So why do you not take a moment but to reflect? Every conscious mortal that exists in our world, even gods themselves, must question their position, must question their actions. Why do you not? Is your ego too big of a thing to worry about?
I I think if I start questioning it, I'll be scared of. the answers on the other side.
But
The
why?
Because look at what I've done. I
But you do realize that if you would just self reflect and see things from other people's perspectives, you would avoid all of these incidences. You would become an effective weapon in the Sultan's hand, and these new allies of yours, you would be able to protect them to make sure these connections that you forged are never lost.
uh, Cross, it's something I struggle with, but it's something I want to do.
But we've just proven that you are aware of it. So how can you be aware of it and still refuse to do any self-policing? Once again, it leads back to your ego.
Yes, you're right.
I would like to do something. And you watch as he begins to float off the podium, does like a 180 and float towards the opposite end of the chamber. He kind of disappears into the darkness. Even though the purple crystals are here, there are lots of areas of this chamber that are still enveloped in shadow. Um, and since you don't have a light source this time, he kind of like goes to one of the edges of the room and he disappears from your vision. And you're sitting there for a moment, and there's just you in this room. You don't see any motion. You don't see anything. And then he returns back with a pouch of stuff and a book.
You're not going to get me high to experience ego death, are you?
He remains silent, starts pulling out of the pouch a couple smaller pouches, a couple vials, and he begins to start incanting some arcane ritual. Um, Halfway through this, this about like 5 or so moments, he floats towards you, and he takes one of the pouches, puts his thumb in there, and he pulls it out, and it seems to be coated in like a almost like a almost white, has a little bit of yellow to it, like kind of powdery, chalky substance, and he kind of smears it on your forehead, a la Simba style.
I was just going to avoid making that reference.
That's what I'm here for. And he continues the incantation, and almost like a arcane ripple from where he is, or kind of like pulsates out. And you feel yourself like it almost like knocked the wind out of you feeling, but it wasn't painful. It was just like like your breath is all exhaled, like you hit like some invisible force, and you start to get kind of dizzy. Your eyes are like you're struggling to keep them open, and you feel like you're passing out. And as soon as you do, there's another pulse, and you almost feels like you get knocked back, but you're now staring up at the ceiling as if you're knocked on your ass. But you're about
That
2 feet away from the ceiling.
Cross?
You look around and you look down and you see Cross sitting on the same podium. And sitting hunched over is you.
What? Am I dead?
Silence.
Am I able to move?
Yes, you are.
Uh, Cross, what was you do, Cross? What?
What do you do?
Am I able to approach Cross?
You go to move, and even though you can feel your limbs moving, you're not really moving so much. You're like, I need to get to Cross, and you start slowly drifting towards him.
This is weird. This
You look
is.
at your arms and your legs, and they are translucent, ghostly.
I'm gonna wave a hand in front of Cross and wave one in front of my body.
You scooch down, and you see yourself hunched over. Your eyes are like staring blankly off at the water. But there's no motion, there's no nothing. And then you go to shift to go wave your hand in front of Krause's, and he raises his hand to stop. Please don't do that.
Okay. I'm not dead then.
No, I've shifted you to the ethereal plane.
Um, this is weird. How?
Through arcane means.
Okay, fair enough. That explains why I don't understand. Uh, um, and I'm just going to be looking around, just still familiarizing myself with this. What?
While you are on the state, you will be able to see the mortal world, but no one will be able to see you, or be able to interact with you, and vice versa.
No one but you.
I can't even see you. I only know your presence is there because of our mental bond.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Um, hmm. So, to what end is this for?
Perspective. Seems you are lacking of it. Your sense of self is nearly shattered, but your sense of ego is a monument to egos everywhere. I think you need to see things from other sides. So now you have free reign to do just that. Go, observe.
Well, if it's with your blessing, well, if it's your command. All right, see where this leads. And I'm going to head down the tunnel into back to the oasis, I guess, back to Cross's room.
Okay, you do so.
All right. So no one
You
can.
get to the door at the end of the chamber, and you smack into it.
Ah,
And then the door begins to open, and you gently go through there.
so does this mean I'm still physically corporeal?
You run over and touch his desk, and your hand goes right through it.
Fair enough. Planes, magic, all this weird
Remember, the
stuff.
runes block stuff.
Got it. Okay, okay. Well, if I'm here for perspective, let's see how things go. Uh, First things first, I am going to go make my way, see if I can see what Grom's up to.
Okay. You float around the castle for a while, until you eventually find Grom. He is talking to a few Royal Guard members, or not Royal Guard members, uh,
The guard.
the palace guards. Sorry.
Mhm.
And he's instructing a few of them. You overhear. Go. White elves need a hand. Dragon needs restrained and food. Um, you two go contact the east echelon. Make sure that the watch is doubled for the next week. You two Go to the gate and inform them that we will be restricting travel to the Blackhawk family and the Onok tribe. Um, you what was Grom? Oh yeah. You go. Make sure that the increased guard to the cavern, undercity, is doubled. You three, make sure to command the watch to rotate, every 4 hours instead of six. I want to make sure everyone's rested. And you two, make sure to tell the rest of the command that the increased guard for the Andali is to be started uh, immediate, started now.
Seems to be enjoying his new position, if not needing a bigger dictionary. Hmm.
You think about it. This is not a new position for Grom. He's always been in charge of troop command.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you've honestly never seen it.
This is uncanny. And I believe I believe Cross, but just to be safe, just just gonna jump in front of Grom and just kind of wave my hand, be like, "Hello."
You watch as Grom is standing there, hands on his hip, looking very proud as he watches these soldiers kind of bow towards him, like, yes, yes, sir. And they all branch out and go following their orders. Um, they they seem that the soldiers seem like this isn't their first time dealing with Grom, so they're able to kind of translate Grom's orders into legit orders. And they all wander off, and Grom just stands there, scratches his ass real quick, and picks his nose.
So yeah, can't see me.
Ugh, okay. Grom get a little nap in, and then he continues doing rounds. Ugh, I know. I'll do 100 rounds today. Yes, that'll keep the Sultan safe, and he just has this, kind of smile about him.
Rhea smiles. He really does love his job. Well, not to let sleeping trolls lie, but I think I'll leave him be.
Where do you go next?
Uh, I'm gonna wander around the palace to see if anything catches my eye.
Okay. Use your ruler and actually, just tell me which area you want to float towards.
Um, well, I know that Conrad is having Remy, so I kind of want to go over and see how this is going.
Okay. You float out, and you immediately realize like it is super early this morning, like super super early. 'Cause you did go to bed pretty early.
Hmm.
Um, you float out there, and you kind of look around. Go ahead and give me your perception check.
Gladly, one second. Tap. 15.
Okay. Takes you a few, but you eventually find Conrad. He looks very tired, very fucked up. Might look a little sick too. Like his skin color does look a little pale.
Huh. I did imagine Remy will almost already have him killed.
You notice him struggling very difficultly. He's currently picking at um some half-eaten fish and throws the fish in the water and just looks kind of upset and almost there's a sense of disgust on his face.
Reyna's gonna just stand beside him and just kind of observe for a while.
You
I
observe him.
hope
It looks like he's trying to survive.
that's, man, I don't pity you.
He looks starving. He looks tired, like he hasn't slept at all. But you can tell there's a look in his eye of him just, like trying to persevere. Much different than your training. It's a strain in a different light.
That's, well, joking aside, I do hope you make it. And after that, just going to a couple more minutes observing, just float away into the palace.
Okay, where do you go?
I should probably check on the others as well. Wonder how Ria's doing.
You spend the next while going through the palace. Eventually, you drift down a couple of floors. In a chamber where she is sitting cross-legged meditating. And as you enter this chamber, you immediately realize you are not alone. There are other
Um,
ghostly figures that, as you pass through the precipice of the room, they all kind of slowly, ghastly look towards you.
um,
And they stare at you for a few moments until looking back at Ruia. And you see Juan sitting in a chair in the corner of this room, just kind of observing Ruia.
the ghostly figures. Is there any more detail of that, or are they just kind of like shades
Is
at this
Yeah,
point?
they're kind of shades. There are one of them looks kind of like a elven gentleman. Another looks orcish. One looks like an older lady. Most of them are missing their eyes out of their sockets. Their forms are very gaunt, translucent, white. Um, so it's kind of hard to make out a lot of details, but they're definitely ghosts or spirits or something.
Very carefully floating around the room, observing uh, basically everything.
But yeah,
Seeing,
all the spirits they seem to be looking at Rhea almost expectingly. And when you float by Juan, she pauses, kind of looks around.
as she's looking around, Rhea just kind of freezes. Just kind of like,
And where
oh,
you freeze in place, you see Juan's eyes just kind of look towards you, not at you like there's that recognition, but looks towards you.
like looking through someone.
Kind of.
Well, I suppose that makes sense. She is a bit more connected to things. Seems like Rhea's training is going a lot nicer than Conrad's. If not creepy, or
You look at Ria's face, and she does not seem to be having a good time.
okay, well, maybe not easier. Keep in there, girl. You can do it.
She seems very down and depressed. Like, she usually has like a very neutral looking face. She definitely seems down.
Um, Marina would like to take a seat next to her, just kind of like not knowing she can't really give any comfort, but just kind of like the best that you know that awkward moment of when how someone they want to be there for them.
Yes.
That is how Rain is just kind of like I can't help you, but and just kind of sit there for a moment.
You do so.
After a couple moments pass, just look up to the person who's training her and say, I know you can't hear me, but try to take it easy on her. And just kind of float away.
Okay. Where do you go next?
So, how far can I go with this? And I'm going to try leaving the palace.
You do so.
Huh. Well, I guess I might as well explore the oasis. I wonder how Nat is doing, if I can even find her.
Where do you go?
Um, I'm going to take some time just
Just what?
wandering through the oasis.
Okay. You spend the next hour, 2 hours wandering along the oasis. Are you looking for anything in particular besides that? Because otherwise, you're just seeing a lot of crowds.
I like to visit some of the shopkeeps, basically, just see what's going on. Uh,
Who in particular?
there's the magic one and busty girl I'm thinking of.
Okay. You go to float towards the magic shop and you hit a wall.
Oh, well, okay, that makes sense. That freaking magic things. Can I at least peer through the window?
You go to look towards the window and it is blacked out. You know these windows aren't blacked out, but you go to look at through the window and you can't see anything. Like there's a void on the other side of the window.
Well then, that's new. Well then, um, there goes any point of view for that. Wonder, you know what? I'm wondering what's going on at Dick's. I'm wondering how the new employees are doing as well.
You float towards Dick's. You enter inside. You see um, Granite and Dix talking at the bar, and you see Shale next to Gilneth as she's showing her how to wipe stuff down, where things are located, things like that.
They seem to be adapting pretty well.
Are you gonna go look at them? Go check them out.
Yes, I'm going to eavesdrop at Dix and Granite.
Okay. You float in and you hear Dick say, "Well, with these people kind of renting this place out so hardcore, I'm still gonna give them a few more days until I let customers back in. But until then, I heard how that incident went down, and I gotta admit, there might be a better way and a quicker way for you to earn some money to pay off your guys' debt." And Grant looks up at him. He's like, "Oh, me banging all these busty girls for you ain't enough?" And Dick's kind of chuckles. He's like, "No, but you seem like a good kid, and I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, I see a lot of myself in you. So, uh, do you want the extra work or not?" And Granite kind of like pauses, looks over at Shale for a moment, and then looks back at Dix. He's like, "Yeah, what do you got?" And Dix kind of smiles. He's like, "Have you ever heard of the Iris?" And then he begins to explain to Granite what the Iris is and what it's about. You spend the next 5 or so minutes listening to Dix kind of ramble about the Iris. Then you watch as Dix looks towards Granite. "I want you to be a fighter for me." And Granite kind of smiles. He's like, "Sure, I'll knock some skulls. If it's gonna help me and my sister get free, I'll do it." And then Dix extends his hand, and Granite shakes it. He's like, "Okay, well, how soon do you want to start? And Dick says, and then Granite says, I mean, now if there's a fight, and Dick chuckles at that, he's like, well, I'll send a message over to, DM getting a note, because I can't remember. I'll go send a note to Art, and I'm sure he'll be happy to see a new fighter. But you rest up, kid. Might have one even as early as tonight. And Granite kind of nods and begins to walk upstairs. Begins to turn to walk away, and then he's like, turns around and just like, Shell, take care of yourself. Don't go outside. Your brother will be upstairs. And she like looks up and, bye, bye. I'll come get you if I need anything. And he kind of smiles and heads upstairs.
Well, that's an interesting turn of events. Might have to visit the Iris. Watch one of Granite's matches eventually. Could be fun. I wonder if Nat and Jacques are actually training right now. I doubt they'd be in their rooms, but can I get a quick peek over in the rooms?
Sure. Whose room are you going to first?
I'm literally just gonna float through each one.
Okay. Which one first?
Uh, Shocks.
Okay. You float up towards Jacques' room, and there you see Vithrock beginning to wake up. And that is all you see in the room, besides a coffin in the center on the ground.
Huh. Am I able to? Can I approach the coffin and kind of see if I can put my hand through it?
Your hand goes right through it.
Can I poke my head into it?
Yeah.
Is there anything in the coffin?
Yes, you see a dragonborn sleeping.
Oh, I guess it is pretty early in the morning, isn't it?
Um,
That's my. Hmm?
you look at his face. You've had nightmares, but you've never seen anyone have a nightmare. This person's having a nightmare. You can see his body kind of like twitching, almost recoiling from some phantom pain. And you can just tell from his face, like he's wherever he's at right now, subconsciously is not a good place.
That's unfortunate.
He kind of rolls over in the coffin a little bit, and there you see the scarred back of Jacques. His wings kind of wrapping around himself, almost like tightly, as if a small child grabbing a blanket and just trying to cinch themselves up.
Rain is going to again with like Rhea, we're just like can't really comfort you, but wanting to be there. Just kind of put a hand through Jacques, trying to comfort them.
You
Try and pat their back, but
you go
realizing
to
they
touch
can't.
his back, and you touch solid skin.
Oh, that was not expected.
You try to push. There's still no push behind it because again, you're ethereal. But
Uh huh.
for some reason, when you go to touch Jacques, your arm does not go through him.
Rain is just going to basically just have a hand on Josh. Like, it's alright, buddy. Um, I'm here. If for what it's worth. You having a clown next to you. Good nightmare is here.
You watch as he flinches again. His tail kind of like recoils up, and it hits you.
Ah, oh, that's that.
Didn't
You
seem
can
aimed
hit
at
me.
you. He
I know.
just, it kind of moved. But yes, it
Just a
does.
flinch.
It does smack you a little bit.
There, I'm tangible to you. That is. I don't know if that's unnerving or unique. I guess you are part of the other side. Makes sense.
Go ahead and give me an Arcana check. Doubtful,
Ye-
but let's see.
With my 7.
Okay,
Oh.
not a bad roll. Again, the arcane is not really your nature, but you do remember back to a time, um, when Kane was instructing you in, martial prowess. And you were curious as a kid, and you were asking him about his training and stuff like that, and his monastic traditions and stuff like that. And he kind of told you a few stories of his monastery and of the five schools that resided there. Um, the monastery was basically created by these five masters who all had varying degrees of what they thought was the true way of martial arts. And each of them, most of the forms and stuff mirrored each other, but each one had different intents. And you remember him instructing you that one of the masters thought that physical harm was not the only thing that people would be capable of, and that other entities, the things that resist or have resistance to such physical harm, or things like ghosts and other insubstantial creatures with phasing, things like that, that can't be harmed by regular physical means, and that his school was dedicated to those who form themselves into a weapon that would be able to harm entities such like that. So, and he told you that, and you were kind of, like, oh, so you can punch ghosts, and
Hmm.
remember Kane going like, well, yeah, kind of.
Oh, I guess that is a weird thing to see, but suppose that makes sense. Hang in there, buddy. And after that, I'm just gonna walk through the wall to whatever room's connected to it. I guess that's the boys' room.
Yes, it is completely empty.
Yeah, that's what I expected. Let's see if Jacques here, so maybe not to.
Okay.
And I'm gonna check the girls' room.
You float into the very flowery room of Nat. It still looks like a Disney princess room in here with all the flowers and garden look now that it now has. The grass is still verdant and green on the floor. All the flowers on the bed are still, like if you had a nose that worked right now, like it would smell very pretty. But there you see Nat curl up on the bed, one arm like around her stomach, and you see her. She's just beginning to wake up, and she does not look good. She looks very depressed, and hungry.
Huh. We're all taking a toll, I guess. I'm gonna kind of like sit at the foot of the bed.
She just has this really defeated look on her face.
What is Jacques doing to you, girl? I hope he's not putting you through too much. Can't be helped, though. I'll have to get better. For what it's worth, I think out of all of us, you you can definitely pull through this. We joke, but I don't think I don't know. I'm terrified of what you might be capable of. I just hope you make it to the other end and Jacques takes it a little easier. Just a little. Come on, this is some great material. Not even half. Okay. Hang in there, girl. You can do it. And after that, I'm just going to, as if I was physical, just go down to Dex and leave.
Okay.
Not bothering opening doors though. Well, not bothering even trying to open doors though.
You just float right through the wall.
Mm-hmm.
By this point of you wandering around the oasis, going through the palace, it's starting to get towards around like 4 p.m. ish. Or sorry, never mind. I forgot ethereal form. It's still early morning. I forgot you're able to move pretty fucking quickly throughout the city with ethereal form.
Mm-hmm. I know Cross wanted me to get perspective. I mean, I can go look in on the Sultan, but I feel like that would be a bit not my place.
Well, I mean, you are aware of no one can see you.
But
Even Kraz can't see you right now.
Crass wants me to get perspective. I think it's important to see how the rest of the palace members are doing.
Where do you go?
And if it's something I shouldn't see, I'll duck out. I trust myself. So I'm gonna float down and see what Kane's up to first.
Okay. You go throughout the palace. You do not see any sign of Cain.
Oh then, that's that. How about?
But going, because looking for Cain probably would take you to the meeting room.
Mhm.
When you float in there, you kind of poke your head through the wall a little bit, look around, and there standing at the or sitting at the desk is the Sultan.
Oh, is there anyone with them?
Um, yes, there is. You do see the Jade Empress.
I'm just going to hesitantly just kind of listen in and just kind of see how it's going.
You see him going through some paperwork. And he's kind of reaches up, kind of rubs his brow a little bit, continues reading through something, looks over at a book, opens it up. He's kind of doing this almost like in a feverish, like kind of motion, like just boom, boom, like just okay, writing something down, opens up another book, closes it, writes something else down. He's frantically going through stuff, and you watch this for about a minute or two, and he writes something down, and you watch as the quill snaps, and you see his hand shake, and you watch as his hand turns completely scaled, and he just shoves everything off the desk, and it smacks against the wall. It kind of startles you for a moment, and you watch as you kind of startle and recoil back. You watch as the Jade Empress looks at you.
Wait, looks at me.
Yes, dead at you, like eyes locked. And then she
Deer in the headlights froze.
and then she looks back towards the Sultan, and she just kind of goes over and puts her arm around his shoulders. She's like, "It's okay, my dear." He's like, "It's not. How am I supposed to do this? I don't have enough resources. I don't have enough men. And now with the Empire making the demands at the behest of Celestia, I'm losing my sovereignty." And he just kind of sits there for a moment, and she just kind of caresses his face. "You do so much for us, Your Highness. For me, your family," as you see her look over towards you. "And your people. You must, you must take some time to rest. But I can't. With the white procession here, I need to make sure everything is in order. I still must make a trip to Kontaktu and make sure that everything is in place. By our estimates, the dragons, the attack that they did was probably used most of their resources, but a month and a half is the most I can give us. If we're not prepared by then, and if certain things aren't and she just kind of like puts her arms around him and like with her free hand like grabs the opposite side of his face and turns it towards her. You have this, honey. You have been the Sultan of an oasis for more than a millennium. If anyone can get us through this struggle, it is you. And then he like reaches up and grabs her hand, and he kisses her on her forehead. Thank you, my love. But sadly enough, your silver tongue isn't going to be enough to get us through this situation. If Reina and the others aren't prepared, I don't know what I'll do. I don't know if we can manage. The rest of them, I mean, I can count on them, but they're not miracle workers. We're already spread thin as is. He kind of sits back in the chair. For now, I will accept the Empire's offer. We'll relegate him to post watching outside duties. Nothing critical. Um, Maybe divided a detachment with the Undercity. Maybe let that be the Blackbird's, problem for now. I don't think she would cause anything. And the Empress goes, May? Yes, I think she could be trusted. She understands the delicate nature of a neuroasis, so I know she'll know what to do. I might have to visit the crone for guidance. And the Empress pats him on his head. Anything you think, my love. But before you do that, please rest. You haven't slept for days. And don't worry, I will bring some food to your chamber. And he kind of like slouches back in his chair for a moment and looks over at the Empress. He says, "You always take good care of me, don't you?" And then you see her kind of smile. She's like, "But of course. What else is an Empress to do?" And you see them kiss, and she stands up because she was kind of leaned against the chair that he was sitting in, but she stands up and extends her hand, and he takes it, and he stands up and he says, "A quick nap, but then I must get back to it." And she does like a slight bow as he leaves the chamber. And as soon as he leaves, you watch as the Jade Empress looks at you again. Doing some spying.
Can you hear
Hold
me?
your breath, I cannot hear you. I suspect this is Krez's doing. Whatever it is, don't worry, I will keep your secret safe.
Um, whether she can see like exact movement or not, Raina is going to like take a deep bow, like a very much like a "I'm sorry, I'm here. I'm sorry, I'm here," like head on ground style bow.
She nods towards you and she says, "I'm sure you got what you came for. But as you saw, I have duties to attend to." And she turns around and walks out.
Yeah, Raina does not leave the bow until she's gone.
Okay. She has left.
After that, just kind of like, sugar. I shouldn't have seen most of that.
Sorry, you're breaking up? What was that?
Oh, hold on. I'm going to leave the call and come back, see if that helps.
No, it was mic issues. As it sounded like you were talking away from the mic.
Oh, sorry. Just sugar. I probably shouldn't have seen most of that. But he's under a lot of stress. I haven't seen him like this
Ever.
ever. I I don't understand. He's the Sultan. How as I'm just kind of looking, I'm just going to kind of look at the desk, see what because he like smashed and
He
kind of.
flung everything on that desk. There's a couple pieces of paper and a few knickknacks are still on the desk that didn't get shoved off. But yeah, he mostly shoved everything off the table.
I I didn't realize things were going this way. I can't keep goofing around like this. Um, After that, unless there's anything else that catches Rand's eyes, she palace. I think she's going to return to Cross.
Okay. You float around the palace. Um, I suspect avoiding the Brass Sultan's chamber.
Very much.
Okay.
Like, keep giving it a wide berth.
Okay. You do so. You see Grom a couple more times, instructing stuff. People. You wander into the library, and there you see Sin.
Oh, this is interesting. Let's see how he's doing.
You fly over. There is a desk with a mountain of books stacked on it and around it. You almost barely don't see the desk until you get to like a certain angle. You're like, oh, that's not just a giant pile of books. That's a giant pile of books on a desk and around a desk. And he's basically created like a weird mountainscape of books. And he has like 20 books open in front of him. Uh, Lots of loose paper, a few inkwells, quills, and you see Agumon sitting there just kind of like staring at him, like kind of looking bored. And him like just looking at one book, then the other, back to the other book. Then he reaches over to a pile, pulls out a book, and the pile just kind of cascades down as like a small avalanche of books happens as he pulls it out.
Ah, yes, he seems to be preparing to DM a D&D game.
No, nearly not enough books to be that.
Um, Float over. I'm going. Is there anything I can discern from the books? Like anything I
Give me an
comprehend?
Arcana check.
Uh,
It's a bunch of gibberish to you.
this is some thick media. Um, Jeez, he's deep in his studies. I don't think Alcor is even observing him at this point.
Look around, you don't
Uh,
see Alcor at all.
I guess he wasn't kidding.
You
It
looking
works
at
for
Sin,
them.
it honestly looks like he hasn't slept in like a day. His eyes have like darkened bags underneath them. His hair is kind of like matted and tuffed out in a few spots where it looks like he's just been like, scratching his head or something like that. He looks tired. Looks like he probably hasn't eaten anything for a while either. You kind of poke your head through his belly and you're like, yep, he hasn't eaten anything.
Okay, after that disgusting note. Well, I've been sitting with everyone else, telling him it's going to be okay. But I think out of everyone else, I think you're girl undoing this time. Have fun with your books, and I'm sure there's something in there that can kick my ass or teleport me to another dimension. Or, you know, be actually useful. Am I kidding? Probably the most useful one of us. I really do talk to myself, don't I? Sit there and observe for a while, and if nothing interesting comes by, just make my way back to Cross.
Okay. You observe him for a good 10, 20 minutes and just continues to write in his books, read books, pull up books. After a few moments, he starts like verbally. It sounds like he's repeating some of the arcane runes, calling them out loud and stuff like that. Seems like he's just practicing and studying.
That's what can I say? I'm not jealous of anyone else's training. Alright, well, I think I might have seen enough, if not too much in some cases. I don't know how much perspective this is giving. I'll talk to Cross, see what he thinks of this.
Okay. You float towards Kroz's room. You get towards the hidden stone door, and as you approach it, it begins to rotate. And as you enter through the rotating door, we're gonna go ahead and take a break right there.
Woo!
Okay, so we will be back in 10 minutes. I gotta go tinkle and get some drinks.
Hello.
Hello. Very interesting.
Apparently. Might have overseen a few things. Might have accidentally seen things I shouldn't have.
Well, just as this whole Paragon thing, like it never goes the way you expect. It just kind of happens.
Mm. So you enjoying the live stream?
Oh yeah, I'm watching. It's pretty cool. It kind of feels like that. What's it called? Christmas Carol style.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I was thinking of. No, I wish I was never born and they just see everything that's going on.
Moose is watching as well. He's watching on his TV.
Yeah, well, Moose. You are having nightmares. Well, so we're hungry.
Yeah, lots of stuff's going on. I don't think anyone's happy at this stage. Except for Grom, maybe.
Shram's always happy.
Hey, Moose.
Only what? Day 2?
Yeah, I
Yep.
think so, yeah.
It is day 2.
Hey, Moose.
What? Day 2?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
It's day 2.
I want to mute yourself or whatever.
Fine!
Or mute
No,
the TV, one or the other.
It's perfect feedback loop.
Yeah, I actually just muted Twitch while I'm talking. Not saying you can't talk, Moose. I'm just saying mute the TV so we don't hear the feedback.
Yeah.
What was that?
Nothing. We're just chatting.
No, you get
Yeah.
endless feedback. Endless.
And I just realized something. Rye,
E.
just as a note,
There's a what? Oh, okay.
that you haven't, but just make sure you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, I took that into account. I've taken the fact that people are into account.
Anyway, are you ready? Are you two ready to get back into it?
Just let me eat a little bit more. I'm hungry.
Okay.
I'm trying not to eat on stream, but I'm crunching nuts. It's making at least a little bit of sound.
I believe in you.
Yep. We're all,
I believe in
waving
you.
our
Yeah, I believe in
we're all waving our Team Riena flag. So
Yeah. I just visited everyone. And I want to help you, but I have to do my own stuff.
That was only what? Day 1? No, that looks like day 2.
Mm-hmm.
It's only day
Nice.
2. Oof.
A big oof. All right. I think I've eaten enough to where I'm comfortable enough being on stream.
All right, I will hop off the call. Good luck, man. Good luck,
All right.
You
Damon.
too. Good luck.
I mean, break wasn't over yet.
Well,
You guys could have stayed for another minute. Guys could have said like hi. But okay, we'll go ahead and start then. Bloop bloop. Let me get let me get some sips real quick.
big sip. I did not utilize my break time efficiently enough. All I did was stuff my face.
I mean, that's effective enough for me.
Yeah.
Okay, you begin
I got it.
floating down the hall, leading towards the meditation chamber, or Kroz's meditation chamber. You float in, and you see your lifeless body just kind of flump there still.
Is this just how I always?
What was that?
Is this just how I always? Oh, I think I might be cutting in and out.
Yeah, you are.
All right, I'm gonna leave and come back. See if that helps.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Sounds better.
All right, let me just checking my volume on my mic as well. See if it helps at all. All right. Yeah, it should be picking me up now. So looking at my lifeless body, just is that's how I always look when I'm asleep.
I'm sure you don't look like that all the time.
Probably not. I'm just gonna float down to my body and just kind of, I don't know, lean against the pedestal.
You go through the pedestal.
Okay, there's no real place to just relax, is there? I'm just gonna float here.
Have you completed your journey?
I guess I don't. I visited, well, the rest of the
He
Onyx
raises his
Circle.
hands to tell you to stop. It's a strain to speak to you in this form, and he kind of floats over towards your head, and he just kind of like almost boops you on the head where he wiped the stuff on your forehead, and you get kind of sucked right back to your body again. You're like,
Oh,
and you're physical again.
I feel like you put my entire soul through a funnel.
And he pauses for a moment, and you hear, that's actually not too far off the actual explanation for that.
Okay, so now I'm sure you could pick my brain and see everything I saw, but just let me speak. I floated through the rest of the Onyx Circle and wanted to see what they're going through.
And what perspective did you gain from that?
Well, I might be having an identity crisis, but I'm not going through the physical torture that Conrad's doing, or spiritual torture that Riena, or even the emotional torture that Nat might be going through. It's
You hear a light chuckle in your brain. They are all going through similar struggles, both physically and mentally. I can only see their surface thoughts, but each of them are struggling in various different ways. One thing to note, though,
hmm.
is why are you doing this training?
Well, I accidentally kind of saw a reason to that.
No. Those are causes. Why are you doing this? Why are you putting forth the effort to do this training?
I want to be better for the Sultan. I saw what's happening, and up to this point, I didn't realize how I was dropping the ball. I've been I've been having fun because I always assume it's under control. I always assume that even if I mess up, the Sultan he could fix it, make it go away, or always has it under control.
You are
It
next
was
in line when it comes to the intelligence gathering of the brass court, are you not?
yeah.
So let me show you something that has probably eluded you to this point, and you watch in front of you as an illusion of a map of Eolus appears. The entire small continent. And you can see where the cities are located. And then you see bling, 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 all these red lights begin to amass all over the map. And as they start filling in, he says each of these lights represents an entity that exists on Eolus. And you see just hundreds of them, thousands of them, millions of them. And almost the entirety of the map fills up. There's a few blank patches here and there. From best we can ascertain, there are almost 2.9 inhabitants, 2.9 million inhabitants that live within the realm of Eolus. All of these lives hang in a very peculiar balance that was established a thousand years ago. You're aware of the treaties in our history, correct?
Yes.
And then you watch as an image of dragons begin to rise up over one side of the continent. You see a red dragon, a green dragon, a white dragon, and a black dragon, and a blue dragon. And they begin sweeping across the land. And you watch as they pass, all those red little lights start disappearing. These dragons and what they represent are a force that could ruin it all. They upset the balance. We already are aware that one of the metallics have died. That line has faded. We are aware that one of its children live in this, are currently residing with the Onyx Circle, but it is just a whelpling. No help in this current matter. And you watch as the dragons continue to just wipe the map clean. We are not sure what forces are causing these dragons to rebel against the old armistice, but whatever the forces are and whatever their end goal is, it will result in the death of most of the people within Eolus, including wiping a Neuroasis off the map. And you watch as their dragons finish going across the continent, and all the red lights are just gone. And there's like a eerie like silence and calm as the dragons pass over the map, and it's just silence. You can just hear the silence in the chamber. And that sound is deafening because you kind of equate that sound to what Elwillis would be like if the dragons came through. And you kind of picture an oasis which is hustling and bustling. Sometimes asshole people wander through the city. Sometimes you have devils, mind flayers, and other illithids. You have all sorts of entities all piled on top of each other. And then you just get a mental image of all of it just gone. The streets still has stalls, markets are still there, the iris is still there, everything's there. It's just there's no people, and you can just see the sand and wind being blown through the empty streets, and it's a very haunting vision. And then you're kind of snap back to, and you're seeing the map there again.
Why would the dragons want everyone gone? What end does that fulfill?
We are unsure whether this is the will of the Dragon Queen or some other entity. We are unsure of. But with the power scale being slowly tipped towards the chromatic dragons, whatever they decide, we may not have a choice.
And of course, we can't let that happen.
No, we cannot.
I. I don't want to fail the Sultan again.
So what are you going to do to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Oh, probably need to get my ego in check.
That is your first lesson. You may have the rest of the day to yourself.
Do you mind if I sit here for a while just in thought?
I do not. The door will open upon your exit. And he floats over towards the edge of the circle of water, and then his feet touch the ground, and he begins to leave the chamber. But I must recover myself. I require nourishment. As he walks out.
Reina is basically just going to sit here and basically just meditate on everything until she herself gets to be hungry.
Okay. Honestly, at this point, you're pretty hungry.
Okay, now I'm going to go eat then.
Okay. As you begin to leave, because there is a little bit of a time difference before when you're like, okay, I'm hungry. But you watch as Kraz begins to pass you in the hallway, and he just kind of silently nods towards you as he walks by.
So just food and then back to my room to be in thought and processing everything. And
Okay.
well, honestly, with my ego, I imagine I'm in front of the mirror right now.
Sure, you can be.
Yeah, just after eating and then going to the mirror, just kind of stretching the muscles and just thinking. I Why do I have the ego in the beginning? I mean, I've strived for things, haven't I? I struggled. Shouldn't I be more humble? I don't. Uh, Eventually turning in for the night.
Okay. You do so. You wake up the next day.
Third verse, same of the.
Same as the
I don't
first.
know. Yep.
Okay. You head down to the meditation chamber. You walk in, and you see Kraz is waiting for you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Take my spot. So, keeping egos in line. I don't know how to curb it myself.
With
You re.
reflection and pause. And you see the image of you going up towards Jacques and Riena when they were being together. A couple of the other moments where you kind of just decided to do things that may have not been the best idea. And Kraz, you hear in your mind Kraz go, what is the one thing you could have done in every single one of these situations to prevent it?
Simply not do it? No.
And how would one come to the arrival of the decision of not to do something?
Think it's through more clearly, I suppose.
And how do you think about how things are going to affect others?
Try to be more conscious of what my actions may affect them or the
Perspective.
reaction. Yeah, in a word.
These tools are not just ways to keep your own ego in check, they are powerful weapons when forged and used right. You've been taught how to gather information, but you were not taught how to gather yourself to gather information, to take pause and think about things, how people would react, what they might be going through, the struggles that they might see in their day to day life. I want you to spend the next 3 days going around a neuroasis. Listen to the people, listen to their struggles, follow some, just observe what they do. And on the fourth day, return to my room again.
Am I going to be doing this as a ghosty again, or is this
No,
more?
you will be going yourself.
Okay. Okay. Well, if this is what I have to do, I'm not going to question it. Alright. Thank you, Gross, for the guidance, and well, see you on the other side of this.
He nods.
Take my leave, and I don't know how else but to now, if I'm going to do this, I probably shouldn't be dressed up as a guard.
Okay. Riena guard or just a random, like, one
Oh,
of
I
your
shouldn't be
alter
dressed up as a
egos?
guard.
Oh, sure. What do you dress up
So
as?
I'm going to dress up as common folk, essentially. Kind
Lower,
of,
middle, upper?
mm, I'm going to have that. I'm going to have like a generic kind of clothing and be able to change it depending on who I'm following. So if I'm following someone who's a bit more upper, I'm going to be maybe middle. If I'm following someone who's middle, I'm going to be a little bit lower. And if I'm more following the slums, I'm just going to wear what slum would look like.
Okay. You spend the first day observing people. You see the merchants yelling at each other, their customers trying to haggle, things like that. You see the people of the markets, trying to pinch pennies, trying to get the best deal for things. You go around the eastern block where the bookstore and the haberdashery is. You observe Sherry feeding a few of the street urchins that roam around the bazaar in this area. Um, Kindly cleaning one up with a rag and giving a pastry to another. You continue through. You see everyone just kind of living life. Um, you see the struggle some of them are having. You eventually see a rich man whipping some slaves. You see a few poor people. You notice that there's these kind of teenagers that one is like kind of causing problems at a stall, and you watch as another one kind of quickly walks over and pockets a few things off from the table. You go around the iris. You see on the western side, in between the iris and the mountain, you see Aiden and or Arden and a few other rough and gruff-looking gladiators as he's basically barking orders at them, going over tonight's events, who's fighting who, things like that. And you just kind of take in all the life of a neuroasis. And with your new insight of to just observe, you know, and understand people's perspectives, you can kind of see more of like not just what they might be going through that you don't even initially observe. Like you watch as the rich man beats on the slave, and you know, what do you think about that?
Um, with the reaction of the slave, just wondering, just the initial being, just like that's cruel.
But what do you think of the person whipping the person?
I initially think that that is a cruel thing to treat another being. think it's malice.
And you almost hear a phantom voice of Kraz. Where does this malice come from?
He's probably upset that the slave isn't doing what he wants.
Go deeper.
Um, maybe. As I'm observing, is anything else happening? Is he still beating him?
Just kind of hitting him, yelling at him, calling him useless, things like that. Pathetic. They won't amount to anything.
Maybe. Maybe it's his own insecurities.
This is true. And you almost see like the scene kind of shift. And you watch as that merchant person becomes very short, childlike. And you watch as they're trying to talk to someone, an older gentleman, dressed similarly. Older, almost seems to be like a father figure of this person. You can see this person trying to reach out, get attention, things like that, and they get a cold shoulder. And then the scene reverts to what you're observing.
He himself is inadequate. And he takes it out on those below him. So he himself couldn't amount to what his father wanted.
So you just went from a cruel man to a broken man who's outlashing because of his own insecurities. That perspective is a mighty weapon, is it not?
Well, makes it easier to tear him down or be as him. Gives a bit of what's the word? Depth.
And you continue on. And this kind of continues on and on and on. There's a few times you pause to reflect on someone, and you kind of first observe the surface stuff, and even with before the any phantom voice goes through, you just remember, well, look deeper, look, and like you see the gladiators and you think about it like they're just struggling for one reason or the other. Some of them might have families they're trying to raise money for. Some of them it may just be a pride issue. You look at some of the merchants and you understand that they're haggling. There's always a point to it. Some are greedy. Some might be doing it for benevolency. Even Sherry's acts. And you take it all in. And it's starting to get towards evening time.
There is more below the surface, I suppose. It's easy to read someone and put on an act, but observing him closer like this, it's not just an act, is it? It's these aren't masks that I put on, are they? They're
They are
I'm
people
supposed
too. You hear the
yeah.
Phantom Kraz voice.
I should this is different.
And then your brain gets flooded with all the times that you've been with the Onyx Circle where you've mirrored people that they know's faces. The time that you made yourself look like pain. That one really kind of sits in your brain for a moment.
I suppose I suppose that's a bit far, isn't it?
It was, wasn't it? But as long as you
You
learn from your mistakes and you use it to better yourself going forward, that's all that really matters.
know, in the moment I just wanted him to be happy.
Do you really think that's what he needed to be happy, though? Or were you just, once again, going to your own selfish ego?
Honestly,
Because again, you started that with I thought, not once pausing to think of what he truly needed and wanted.
you're not wrong. It was good intentions, but it was the wrong act. Fair enough. No, I should have done better. I should have tried to sober him, if anything.
You want these to be your friends, but sometimes you treat them like playthings to amuse yourself, to amuse your ego. And then you see moments of the ambush. You watch as you're running in there going to attack some people. You in the heat of the battle, you didn't even realize it, but you now sitting from an outside perspective looking at the battle, you see as your cover and your advancement into the enemy lines were being covered by Conrad's assault of arrows. Cletus is, charging forward to block your flanks. And you watch as the mass bit of battle from an outside perspective, you watch that everything you did in the battle was covered by these people. They risked their lives to protect you. So why do you treat them as such? Of course, you can joke with your friends, but there's a time and place for everything.
I. Uh, it is difficult to separate friends and things at this point. I should treat them better. I just. Honestly, I don't know how yet.
You do. You just struggle with yourself. If you take yourself out of the equation, I think you'll find what you're looking for. And you realize that you're already in your chamber. You've wandered from an oasis into your room without even thinking about it as you're just kind of having this conversation to yourself.
This might be the first time that talking to myself was productive.
There is silence.
Good
And you
night,
hear a knock.
Cross.
You hear a knock on your door.
Ah, uh, put myself together and kind of answer the door.
You open up the door and there's Cross.
Oh, hello.
I just wanted to let you know that I will be out of contact for the next 2 days. I've been ordered to meet with an envoy from um, Bator. So I will be away and out of contact. I'm sure you noticed that I was no longer in contact earlier today. As you see that he has his metal little cap on his head, which kind of blocks mental stuff.
Yeah. Um. Wait, you weren't in contact.
Oh no, I've been preparing for the meeting.
I was he not in contact last? Because I was under the impression I'd been talking to him.
He says he wasn't.
I thought I was communicating with you for the past while.
He raises an eyebrow.
We did you have that whole conversation with me about treating my friends as friends and not, things?
He quickly grabs his cap and takes it off for a moment, And he kind of narrows his eyes towards you. He's like, "No, that was you thinking to yourself." And he puts the cap back on.
Uh, uh, are you sure?
He nods.
Um,
There's almost mind flayers can't smile because of their mouths, but you see his tentacles almost form a smile. He says, "That's your subconscious, or that's your conscious. I can't say that word.
conscience.
Conscience.
It's my Jiminy Cricket.
You should probably listen to that more." As he reaches down and picks up the bag that's next to him, he says, "I will return in a few days," and he
Um,
walks away.
be safe, Cross.
He looks back and nods and continues on.
Closes the door and just. Why does my conscience have to be Cross's voice? Just smiling to herself.
Is there a female setting?
uh,
In 100 feet, turn left. Yeah, so you are in your chamber alone.
just. What time is it?
It's getting towards evening. It's getting kind of late. You wandered the city for most of the day.
Um, Gonna go through the nightly routine of food, bathing if needed, and resting.
Okay.
Before bed, though, I am just going to be in thought. Just conscience. Is it weird that I'm only just now developing one? Or is it worse that it's someone else's voice? Uh, oh, well. As long as I don't start getting weird psychedelic dreams, I think it'll be fine.
Cue psychedelic dream. Shit. Okay, I'll erase that note. I'm kidding. Okay. You have a restful evening. You wake up the next day, go through your morning routine, get dressed, have some breakfast. The only person you see is Grom, who is kind of shoveling down food, and he kind of waves to you like, "Alright, little one."
Uh, hey there, Grom. How has the past few days been doing for yourself?
He stops shoveling food in his mouth for a moment, and he looks over. He's like, "Huh, little one asks about Grom's day. Huh, you never asked that." "Well, Grom, Grom's a little tired. No one else is working, so Grom has to make up for everyone else. He's not complaining. He's just, it's tiring, and it's just me. So, yeah, but I'll get through it. Grom's strong."
Oh, well, Grom,
"Yes,
you,
little
you,
one."
you know, if you need a hand, it might be beneficial for me to tag along. Cross said I need to, oh, how do you put it? Be more observant.
Hmm. Well, I don't know how observant you will be, but you can follow Grom if little one has nothing else to do.
I think it'd be beneficial too. I've
Sure.
been
And he continues shoveling down his food. You kind of have to take a step back from him so you don't get food flung at yourself.
just as close as I'm capable of be getting without being hit with food is where I'm going to eat my meal.
Okay, you do so. And you got to give him a little berth just because his food does not smell that appetizing.
Nah, I assumed.
You're pretty sure he's now eating like a breakfast of like slightly decomposing veal. Is the best way I could describe it.
You know, if I was a troll, that'd be delicious.
It is. This is like a kind of a really nice meal for him. Like it's pretty fucking good in the perspective of a troll. But he finished his eating and he's like, "Okay, done. Let's go, little one."
Uh, yes, your lead.
Okay. And you follow him throughout the palace, and the morning begins with him barking orders towards the soldiers. You see him throughout the day working with the soldiers. He eventually, there's some soldiers who have to ask questions about like situations with the Andali, the Empire, and stuff like that. And Grom isn't the smartest one, but with every question he just goes, kind of like looks over to you for a moment, then pauses for a few moments, and then he'll respond. Oh, you go do this, and like every answer he gives is simple, but it's not wrong. Like it's weird for such an idiot. Like he seems to have a simplified version of how to do everything, so it kind of works. But though you do see some of the guards struggling with kind of the communication difference between them and Grom. The palace guard handle it much easier, but when you guys have to go leave the palace and go out onto the streets, and he exchanges with them, you can see the struggle, not just for Grom, but the soldiers themselves as well. As these guards are just trying to do their duties, and now they have to also be like a semi-translator. So it's kind of rough all around. But everyone has that intent. The guards struggle because they seem very loyal to an oasis. And in doing so, they kind of react with all the orders with as if they were coming from the Sultan himself. You see that none of the guards really disrespect Grom. There's no whispers behind his back or anything like that. They treat him as if they were the Sultan, which is odd because again, how Grom acts and how he talks could you could see that a lot of people might not want to take that serious, but with every interaction he does, the soldiers treat him with an utmost respect. If not a quizzitive look every once in a while when he says some bizarre, weird shit. And there's a couple times he looks at you like, little one, tell him what I mean. And you kind of have to like translate for him, like, when he's asking some people to replace the watch on the towers, he forgets the word tower. So he goes, big defending rocks. And you're like,
He,
big
he, he
defending rocks.
means the he means the towers, sir.
Yeah, what little one says. But you go throughout the day just kind of following Grom. And for the first time, you get to observe the rest of the guards of the city. And you may have stolen their faces many times, but I mean, this is probably the most you've heard them talk.
You know, Grom, it's impressive how they treat you. It's there's so much respect for you in their eyes.
Well, that's. You silly little one. That's 'cause Grom respects them.
Respects the soldiers.
Yes. They're doing the same job as Grom. Why wouldn't he?
I mean that makes sense. Yes, it's
Of course it makes sense. Grom's smart.
well, I'm learning that more so today. You really do know what you're talking about.
Of course I do.
Your your dictionary and vocabulary may be limited, but a lot of these plans, how you're defending, the way you're ordering the soldiers, while not the most elegant, is far more detailed and thought out than I could have come out with.
Ooh, I remember having a bottle of Eloquent. That was a good drink.
I'm sure it was.
You think he might be confusing the words for something else?
I'm sure he is.
No insight needed.
Uh, this. Thank you. Just. This was insightful.
Thank you, little
Uh,
one. You helped some of the guards know what Grom was saying.
Well, if you ever need a hand and I'm not too busy, I don't mind doing this more often. It's a side of you I enjoy seeing.
Thank you, little one. Do you need a hand?
Well, you've helped me already. Uh,
Are you sure Grom can still give you a hand?
how about a high five?
So you want
And
5 hands? And you
no,
watch as this troll reaches down towards his left hand and rips it off. Ugh! And he hands you his hand. That's
no,
that's one.
no. That's
And
this.
he
This
goes
is
to
more
reach
than
for his
enough,
hand as you're
Crom.
saying no. Like as that
Oh,
other hand is already healed back, he goes to reach for the
oh dear
newly
me.
formed hand. And he's like, "What? No."
This is more than enough, Grom. Thank you. I appreciate this.
Oh, no problem. And he pats you on the head with his newly formed, kind of wet hand. And he just turns and
Thank
walks
you.
away, and you have this giant troll hand in your hand.
I, I,
Blackish green, ichorish blood just kind of drips from it.
I'm just,
Give me an endurance check. No, straight con.
I'm just standing in the middle of the sand, just
Yeah,
wondering
you're
what to
you're right
do.
about the in front of here, in front of the fountain. Okay, you don't immediately puke, but it's a fucking giant troll hand. You know what you're feeling.
I. Has he walked away?
Yeah.
I will forever cherish this. Oh, what do I do with this hand? I'm just. Do I know of places where we discard Grom's things?
I mean, you could always give it to a palace attendee, or just find
You
the
know what?
nearest trash room and toss it
I'm
in there.
just going. I'm just gonna walk towards the palace, and the first person I see who's cleaning, I'm just gonna go. Hello. I respect you
A
as.
young woman turns around. Yes. Oh, yes.
Hello. I respect you as a human being or whatever you
She is a human.
identify as. Huh?
She is a human.
Or whatever you are. Could you please dispose of this for me?
Um, mm, she looks very, very like she doesn't want to touch that. Oh, no insight needed. Like she's like, yes. She recognizes you though.
I've been carrying it this whole way. I know how you feel. I am sorry.
She's like, just if you could, my lady, just hold on to that one. And she kind of runs off, turns a corner, and she returns with like a cloth, and then she like brings it up to you open to like place the hand inside of it.
Very gingerly puts in.
She kind of wraps it around, and like it's starting to it's like a white cloth, not
It's
fully
not
white.
after the hand goes in.
And like once you put it in there, you see like the grease from the hand, kind of like you know, kind of bleeding into the bag, and you see like the blackish green ichor starting to spread at the bottom of the bag. She's like, I'll get rid of this right away." And she kind of
Thank you.
bows and walks down the hall.
And just like, thank you. Just another sound, more firm. Thank you.
Okay. You return to your room. You get some rest. You eat all that stuff.
I bathe as fuck. I am
Yeah.
washing that off.
And you spend the next few days observing. And then finally, it comes morning to when Kraz told you to return.
And once that morning comes, morning routine, never breaking it, and approaches the room.
The door opens as you walk close to it.
Expecting me, of course. And I'll just proceed in.
Okay. You get in there, and Kraz is sitting there at his meditation stand. And
Morning.
Good morning. I hope the last few days have gained you insight.
Um, well, Grog is much smarter than I give him credit for. There's that.
You hear a chuckle in your own brain. Grom is a capable warrior and a useful asset, just like everyone else in your family.
I didn't have doubts. I just, how I put it, didn't realize it either.
So now you see that there's more to someone than just how they look, and what they are on the surface.
I-
So,
I'm sure I'll still struggle, but
as
it's
do
a
we all.
revelation.
We all see everything from our own perspective. It takes a great mastery to observe and understand where people are coming from. Now have a seat. We will begin the next phase of your training.
There's more then.
Yes,
And
these were just the stepping stones.
oh, in for a penny, in for a copper.
He gestures you to seat as a stone raises out of the water.
Taking my place.
Do you know why I've been teaching you these lessons?
Make me a more rounded out mortal, or human being, or whatever the politically correct term is for person of thought.
But you are not a human. You are something very unique. And because of your nature, there's more that you could tap into that is laying beneath the surface. These things that you can do are beyond you just from your own ego, your own lack of insight, your lack of understanding of what a person actually is. So since you now have the groundwork laid for that, we will start the next phase. I want you to turn into Nat, your friend Naturia.
Uh, sure. And I'll shift into that using my hat as well to make the clothes.
You look like Naturia, but are you Naturia?
Well, I have her butt. Is that what counts?
You see him shake his head left and right. Like, just, no, no.
Of course.
You've taken her appearance, but you have not become her. Go ahead, ignite something.
I ignite something.
Yes, she does it quite often, very easily. It's like breathing to her.
Um, I ignite something.
Give me a wisdom check.
By the way, that was in character me saying that as well.
You look over off at a distance and you're like, raise your hand, you're like, ignite, ignite. For 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes. You're just an hour, 2 hours. And the whole time Kraz is just sitting there silent and in meditation.
Flame ignites.
No business of me. Um, you try for hours and nothing.
uh,
It even gets to the point where towards the afternoon you're starting to get, tired and it's just like your focus it's mentally exhausting.
Crass, I don't understand. I uh,
You are just you wearing a gnat suit at this point.
I
Become her.
mean,
That is enough for today. Think about today's lesson and meet back here tomorrow.
become her. Well, I'll do that. Good night, Cross.
He nods.
Uh, as I'm walking down the tunnel, I'll be just shifting back into guard Riena.
Okay. You spend your evening thinking about the lesson. You get some food. You go through your routine. Wake up, routine. Get some breakfast. Go down. The door is ajar as soon as you approach it.
All right. Round 2 of Cryptic Becomings.
You
Yeah, I
find
walk in.
Kraz sitting there. He gestures you to sit down.
Morning.
Good morning.
Take my place. So, where do we leave off?
Become sin.
Oh, um, sin. Okay. Uh, I shift as best as I can into sin.
Yeah, you're a little bit bigger than sin. Because he is, not medium sized, but you take the
Hmm.
visage of sin.
I think the smallest I can get is
4 feet.
4 foot. Yeah.
So you're still a couple feet taller than him, but you take the visage of sin. Then you hear in the back of your brain, you've seen him cast spells many times, correct?
Um. Yes, I have.
Cast one of his spells.
Um. Well. What's a spell he usually casts?
Roll a wisdom check. Okay.
Spell.
Magic
The
missile.
magic missile. Detect magic.
Same thing. You go throughout the day. You attempt to use Sin's abilities, and it bores no fruit.
I
Again,
I feel.
you are wearing Sin, but you are not becoming Sin.
Uh,
Think of the
I-
lessons we had. Come back tomorrow.
yeah. Yes, Cross. Good night.
Same thing. You go through your routines. You wake up the next day.
Comes and become Nat. All right. All right. Let me see what I can do this time. Going through routine through the door, I assume.
Yep. You find Kraz waiting for you. Gestures you to sit.
Morning.
Morning. Today
Takes
I
my
want you
place.
to be Ruia.
Rhea. 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 And as Rhena's shifting, she's just Rhea. Rhea. Okay. Okay. Hmm. So shift into Rhea. Now what's cross?
I want you to bless me like she does.
Bless.
He holds a weapon in his hand, a simple short sword.
Okay.
Go ahead and give
And
me a wisdom check.
yeet. Nat 20.
Okay. You're sitting there focusing, and you're like, bless, God mumbo jumbo,
Raven Queen.
holy smite. Like you're just, and then you realize that you sound really stupid, and you're just kind of doing the atypical Reina thing. You're just playing pretend. You're yourself, just looking like someone else. And then you remember. He said to remember the lessons from before. What were the previous lessons?
You have to understand them as people, not masks you wear.
And
There's reasons for why people do things more than.
What was the other lesson?
Oh, player Ryan is having issues.
Ego?
Ego.
So you sit and you think about it. What is Ruria?
Well, Rhea is. On the surface, she's a drow. But she never grew up in drow culture.
No. From what you
She.
know, she was an orphan, raised by a human somewhere in Latest.
She grew up in human culture. So.
Think about that
Hmm.
for a moment. A drow growing up and surrounded by elves, humans, and non-drow folk. What do you think her childhood was like?
I can't imagine it to be easy. She would have been ostracized by her peers.
You know, she worked as a gravekeeper, alone, always seeing the dead, with no interactions with the living.
She. She had a lonely life.
The only person in her life, her father that you heard about, Bardem. Not a bad man, treated her with respect, and even had showed signs of love, but from what you have heard, and from the Sultan, from the initial briefings, and what you've gained from traveling with these people, is he was a pretty silent man, very reserved, thinking about things, in the perspective way. He probably had a past that left him to be such a quiet man. Maybe military, maybe he saw something horrific. Something caused him to not be able to interact with people the way a father should be able to, which then caused Rhea to be more isolated and feeling alone. And you realize now what Rhea is. And how do you feel knowing this and knowing what you know of Jacques about what you did when you walked into that room?
She found a companion who was just as alone as them, and I made a buffoon of their unity.
And you close your eyes just thinking about this kind of doubtfulness, your mistake, and you just kind of let it wash away. Not giving in to the fact that you make mistakes, but realizing that you need to do better going forward. You need to start thinking of other people, how they feel, losing your own ego, taking things a little bit more serious, and you open your eyes and you look at the weapon, which is now glowing with a purple radiant energy.
Did 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 that? Did I
You see
do
Cross
that?
nodding. This is what you are truly capable. To really become someone, you should be able to mirror what they're capable of. But you must be able to be in tune with them, understand them not just for what they look like, but who and what they are, their motivations, their goals, their life, their history. Doing this, you will become more in tune with yourself and these other people than you've ever been.
I I oh that is impressive. Also, I feel like I should be blushing and making a cloud of raven feathers.
And there's a slight chuckle. No, there are limitations to this, but you are taking the first steps into unlocking this. Take the rest of the day to yourself. We will continue this tomorrow.
Good
And
night.
you spend the next 2 weeks practicing this. You struggle quite a bit. There are days where you cannot manifest it at all. Um, and on those days, you know that you just need to just take a step back, not think of yourself, not think about you failing in the moment, not you succeeding, nothing about you. And you just think about them. Them. You think about sin. He's an asshole. Why is he an asshole? What is he missing in his life? What is causing that? You think about Damus Ceres. You've met him briefly. You don't know much about him. But he's a big lug. Not the smartest. But from what you've heard and what you've seen, he would die defending his allies. He's a good man. You see Jacques. You don't even really need to unpack that. I mean, he is just a ball of just a shitty life, and it almost. How do you feel about that? Because now I think this is probably the first time you realize that there's probably a lot of reasons why Jacques acts that way, and why you know certain suggestions you've made in the past of him, people going like, oh, whatever, he's just a vampire, or whatever. You start to really think of like, oh shit, like, oh wow, that was kind of a dick move. Um, and you realize that maybe some of the things you suggested with, oh, whatever, Maria, you could just be with him, might not be so easy. You think about Conrad, his struggle to find himself. You think about all the women he's been with, and you initially thought that, oh, well, he's just a horny boy, joking. But now you think about it, why does he always do that? Then you think about it, well, it's probably confidence, it's probably issues with that, it's probably lack of his own sense of self, his accomplishments. He goes through bouts of confidence with, skittishness, of not being sure of his choices. You think of Nat, everything that she's lost. Um, and it finally hits you that as you were suggesting for her to, either hook up with Conrad or someone else, literally a week after she had realized that the love of her life was a demon who was using her as basically a human Capri Sun. And that the fact that she lost the kids that she thought she had, and potentially her entire family during the incident. You think about everyone in the Onyx Circle, and you realize that some of your actions that you have done thus far may have not been the best idea. And that, yeah, you can joke with them and have fun with them. That's not what these lessons are about, but there's time and a place for everything. And that, maybe with a slightly less bit of ego, you might be able to realize when those moments are by, again, using perspective, understanding what people are going through, and acting accordingly. And at the end of those couple weeks, you're able to do it more frequently. And then the last bit is basically Kraz just making sure that you can replicate someone's abilities. And at the very end, he has a test for you. The last day, you walk into the chamber.
Morning, Cross.
Good morning. And you notice that there is a guard in there.
Oh, hello. Morning to you too.
Morning. He looks kind of nervous.
Do we have another student with us, or
This is Kenneth.
hello, Kenneth?
Good morning. He has innate arcane abilities. He is one of the town guards that is hopeful for a potential palace guard.
I hope you achieve your dreams, Kenneth.
Thank you, my lady. I want
And
you to replicate his powers.
replicate his powers. Um, okay. Um,
And Kraz floats up from his podium and says, I will be back at the end of the day. This is your final test. And he goes to leave the chamber. You hear the stone
Wow.
doors, rotate, and then you hear it close.
Guess we're in this for the long haul, Kenneth.
Yes, my lady.
Um, Care to take a seat with me? And I point to the stone pillars.
If, yes, as you order, my lady. And he walks over and sits down.
Sits across from him. You don't need to call me my lady while we're in here.
Yes.
So, Kenneth, tell me about yourself.
I grew up, in Redden Village. It was a good life. We struggled. The undead from Velum Parbat are always cause trouble down there. But I grew up in a family of six, and growing up, I realized as a middle child that my place on the farm was a little unique, in that my family basically had all the required work done, and I that gave me an opportunity to potentially extend outside of the realm of the family, and I trained in martial practice down there for a few years, and um, eventually I heard that an Oasis was looking for more guards, and I knew that there were plenty of work opportunities within the city itself, with mercenaries and the Blackburn family and the like. So I left my town and came up to try to find work in an Oasis. Long story short, I struggled for a couple years trying to find work, and eventually I was hired as a town guard.
So, town guard is this something you enjoy doing?
Um, well, I mean, it's a way of life. I didn't really have too many opportunities or choices growing up, so I just kind of took what I could, and it wasn't until recently that I found out that I had a knack for the arcane.
Um, with the knack for arcane that you have, how do you feel about that?
I kind of like exhales, kind of sighs. Give me a diplomacy check.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's new.
Well, clearly something as unique as something like that. I can imagine it would stir new feelings in you.
It it
Uh,
does.
what might your thoughts be? I mean, growing up as a middle child, then being a soldier, you, if you don't mind me for stepping, seems like you've had a hard time finding a place, hasn't it? In the world.
Uh, yeah, yeah, you could say that.
And I don't know how to put this. Hmm. Do you want more in life?
He pauses, kind of looks towards the ground. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. Give me one more diplomacy check with advantage. Oh, okay, that's
22.
gonna bump it up. Don't roll it twice. Remember,
Okay,
advantage don't work that way in 40.
that's fine.
He kind of pauses. He's like, I mean, everyone dreams of more, don't they? Being recognized for your abilities, being successful. So yeah, I mean, I do.
What might you dream of?
I mean, I don't even know how to quantify that. I don't know. Maybe find a girl who would love me. Maybe make a family. Find work that I would like doing that appreciates what I can do.
Mhm. You're clearly capable with a blade and clearly with innate magic. There's plenty out there for you.
Like what?
Well, you have people that are spellblades, you have mercenaries, but I don't know if that's what you're looking for, is it?
No, I've done mercenary work. It's so you can pay good, but you're always shifting around. You're always moving around one patron to the next.
You want to settle down, don't you?
That'd be nice.
Uh, well, maybe study Arcana. You can open a shop or maybe train under another mage. Might be able to guide you in this type of field.
So, when he pauses for a moment, are you suggesting that I turn down the promotion?
I'm suggesting if you think it's important to do what you want, you need to work towards it. And don't get me wrong, the promotion, it'll be good money. And I'm not saying quit the job immediately either. You don't want to struggle. But maybe invest. Invest in yourself. Invest in what you want. Invest in your dreams.
Kind of nods at this. He's like, I will take my lady's words into consideration. Thank you.
Would you do me a favor and describe your innate magic ability to me?
But of course, and he spends the next hour or two explaining to you his capabilities. You observe him, you study him, um, and you think about him as a person and the things that you just discussed. And by the end of the day, you are able to conjure um, a small elemental, which is kind of his knack for power. He's able to bond with and summon entities from other planes relatively what he feels is kind of easy, but which you observe as pretty cool. And at the end of the day, Kraz comes in, and I need you to roll me one last wisdom check,
Yeah. Yeah.
and roll twice for it, please.
13 and 10.
Okay. Okay. Um, you successfully do it.
This your ability is amazing, sir. It's I I'm
And Kraz kind of nods towards you and looks towards the guard. Thank you, Kenneth. You may return to your duties. And then Kenneth goes to speak. He says, "Do not worry. I've already put in a word to the guard master. We have a new assignment for you." Yes, my lord. And he kind of nods, bows towards Kraz, and he exits the chamber. It's just you and Kraz sitting there.
um it's not easy, but I sat down and I talked with him. I I understood him. He came from the farming life.
He
He
raises a hand to stop you. I did a mental dive of him before we arrived.
I wasn't explaining for you. It was more self reflection, but yes, I
I'm stopping you because I now trust your self-reflection. You've come a long way over this month.
thank you. That means a lot from you, Cross.
I asked this question when we first began. Riena, what are you?
I I'm Raina. I with everything that's going on, I feel like I can be so much more. I can be more to the Sultan, be more to my friends.
And by removing the ego from the equation, and by thinking about what you are to others, you do know that one day you will find what you are looking for. You won't need to reach for it, you won't need to look for it, it will come to you.
Thank you, Cross.
And he nods. And he says, enjoy your last evening of rest. I would suggest returning to Dix's tomorrow morning. I believe most of your allies are. Some of them have already returned, but some of them will be arriving shortly. They are also going to need their rest for this evening, so please respect that and give them a little bit of space.
So, of course, Cross. One question though.
But of course,
Any of your abilities I should try to learn, or is that overstepping a bound?
most of my abilities come from what I am, and those you might struggle to learn.
Mm, that's fair. That's fair. But isn't it all about me becoming someone? Just a cheeky smile.
And he pats you on your head. Now go, little one. You must rest, and I must rest as well. Trying times are ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, Cross. Have, well, rest well.
He nods.
And I'll take my leave.
Okay. Yeah, it's getting evening time.
Yeah, eat, sleep, just conk out. Just exhaustion.
Yeah. And when you go through your nightly routine, it's almost weird. So many times you face the mirror, just shift, 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 one form to the next, to the next. And for the first time looking in the mirror, you don't see you just shifting, wearing faces, wearing a mask. You see the people. You really see them, and you understand that all these people, all these masks, they are people, and knowing that will in the future guide you in very unique ways and give you a perspective that most people may struggle to understand because you aren't just yourself. In a way, you are everyone. And to truly do that, you need to understand them. And you revert back to your just out of just innate instinct, you revert back to your normal changeling form. And you just kind of see yourself, the real you.
I guess, in the end, it's what's under the mask that matters.
And as you lay down to get rest for the evening, that's where we're going to end tonight's session. So, we will see you guys. We might be doing not a stream this Sunday, but we might be doing a short group together, like hangout thing as we go over some stuff. Riena, you are now level 11.
Yay!
Um, we will go over all of that and get it reorganized. But we will see you guys next time on Low Initiatives channel. Bye.
Bye.